Danielle, Laura, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we had a good little call last week, and yeah, I'm looking forward to diving into this a little bit deeper with you. So I guess I did give a little bit of an intro to who you are and what it is that you do, but I always like to give my guests a 60-second to 2-minute opportunity to brag about themselves and tell us in their own words what it is that they do. So go ahead, take it away. I'm timing you.
Perfect. Okay. So I'm a personal development and leadership coach, and I work with the really overachieving, high performing woman who has this change maker mission about her, who really operates heavily in her masculine energy. And I really work with her to ground back into her feminine energy and use the masculine and feminine together in unison for her to be able to have ultimate success and mastery in her life, both personally and professionally. Basically, is what I do.
Okay.
A lot of things come up in that spectrum, but that would be a short summary.
There is a lot of offshoots that could come from that.
Totally.
So do you focus more on the relationship component where a woman is really tapped into her masculine and then she brings it into a relationship? Are you helping women who are maybe struggling with getting into their masculine so that way they can become more successful in business? So like I'm not quite sure I'm clear on which it is.
A little bit of both. The funniest thing about it is people keep telling me I need to just be like a relationship coach, like change my title, right? Because most of nine times out of 10, the women that I work with are operating so much in their masculine in really in their professional life, in every area of their lives. But they think they're coming to me for really to hone in on how to be a better leader and all of these things. But it always comes down to their relationships that are really the culprit of their dissatisfaction and how that really translates into all of these other areas of their life. So they don't necessarily come in thinking that their relationship is the problem, and it 9 times out of 10 ends up being the main focus of our work together and really honing back into their feminine and their relationship, because as heart-centered women, their lack of fulfillment in their relationship is overtaking every other area of their life. And so when we heal that, everything else begins to fall in place really beautifully.
When you heal your relationship with the masculine or the feminine, is that what you meant?
Yeah, healing your relationship with the feminine, and then typically in their cases with themselves and with their partner, then they're able to operate better in all of the other areas of their life as well, and really harness the power of both the masculine and feminine energies for mastery in the other areas of their life.
How does a woman know that she's been really sinking into her masculine? Because I think a lot of women like to think that, oh no, I'm just a strong, independent woman. I know what I want, and I'm gonna go and get it. I don't see it like that. Doesn't mean I'm masculine. So why? How does a woman know if she's slipping into her masculine?
Yeah. So most of the time they don't, right? That's why they don't come to me for thinking that they need help with their relationships. And we figure that out. And pretty much a classic way you can tell is if a woman is essentially so dominant in everything in her life that she's essentially emasculating her man or her partner, whoever, to the point where like she's taking control in every single situation. And therefore creating these challenges because she's not allowing the man to be in his masculine to hold her in her feminine. So she's emasculating the man. The man then really doesn't have want to have anything to do with her, loses respect for her. She loses respect for him because he's not being the man, right? Because she's completely taken total control of the relationship and is always the one she feels like she's the one putting all of the effort in and basically controlling everything, every little aspect of everything. And she doesn't even realize it because she thinks she's just this fierce, independent boss lady type of woman. And so really that whole persona is just taking over her relationship.
Yeah, I've seen that before. And then the guy doesn't really feel like he can do anything. I mean, why would I bother arguing with you right now because I just know that it's going to go nowhere. Clearly you feel really strongly about this, and apparently, it's just going to be easier if I just shut down because I don't have to deal with this argument. So fine, fuck it, whatever. We'll do it. We'll do what you want to do. And then
Exactly.
the guys just sort of like shut down, and then they don't want to step up in the relationship.
Exactly. And it's just this vicious cycle where they continue to just shut down and back down. And it continues to build more resentment in the female because she is then not only in this empowered state that she feels she's in this empowered state, but then she, like I said, she just loses complete respect. And then it's this vicious cycle of completely being unfulfilled because the man doesn't want to argue with her. She's just going to completely continue to emasculate him, and she's going to have an answer for everything. She's going to, cross her T's and dot her I's and make sure she has a valid point for everything she's saying. So yeah, it's a lot of work for the guy, right? He doesn't want to have to deal with all of that. So he does shut down, just like you said.
So I guess a couple things. I mean, why would it not be a good thing for just the guy to like, what's wrong with the woman being the lead in the relationship and just directing how things are going? I guess the old way of being is that was always the guy. It's always the guy's. It's always the man's way, and the woman was just always following. So if the roles are flipped, what's the problem with it?
Sure. So technically, there's no real problem depending on your personality and what you like, right? And the things that you desire in someone. But I think that where it becomes unbalanced is when it is all one-sided, right? It's either all the male or all the female, and the other person is not actually getting their needs met. So if you're having this dominant woman who is leading the relationship, that's not bad. None of this is good or bad. It's a matter of, is she leading it in the sense to where she's overpowering to the point where the man doesn't feel like he can be himself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's actually right as you were saying that is what I was writing down. So I'm going to be looking down because I got to make notes and
Sure.
like different. I mean, there's too many different things. I got to write the stuff down. I was actually just writing that down. I mean, if she starts to become resentful towards him, then that's a way that you could determine. Oh, I guess I don't want to be taking the lead all the time in the relationship because I'm constantly resentful towards my partner. I'm the one who's in control, but deep down, I kind of don't respect my partner because he just does. He's not man enough for me.
Totally.
But doesn't actually open up the opportunity to allow him to step up.
Right.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Problem. Problem 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Huh. Yeah, and then I guess in the for the guys as well, because I know some guys, they just kind of like to just take it easy and just let someone else sort of take the reins, a bit more submissive in that regard, or I guess more feminine. Feminine and submissive are two different things, but yeah, where let's say a guy's taking on a bit more of a supporting type role and not necessarily taking any lead in the relationship, but sort of taking a supportive role. If he starts getting quite upset, and this is some of the guys that I've dealt with, they start getting a lot of, they feel, one thing that happens is they can't get hard, they can't get an erection, like in the bedroom. That's where it starts to pop up, or not pop up. I got jokes. They're not good ones though. Yeah, so I mean that's where it starts to show up, is in the bedroom. And also resentment. There's definitely frustration and anger, and they just sort of feel bland and bored all the time. And I guess those are the guys where they do want to be stepping up and taking more of the leadership, because, and they don't want to. And there's also a challenge too. Is like I don't want to tear my partner down, so I should support my partner in being really powerful and strong, and being a leader. So how do you balance that in those relationships? Like, how do you help your partners stay strong and still be a leader while also empowering their partners and getting them to step up? Like, what do you do?
That's a great question. So when I work with my female clients, I really have them tap into their heart center of what do they actually need, and feeling that from a heart-centered way, and using the language around that, the feeling languages, right? So that drops down from the head to the heart. So when she's coming at her man in a headspace of blah, blah, blah. This is what I want. Why aren't you doing this? Blah, blah, blah. She's very like domineering to the point where the man could shut down. But if she comes to him, first of all, knowing what she actually feels and what she needs from him, and can explain it in a way of, this is how I feel. This is what I need from you. It would be amazing if you did this, or if I could see this or feel this from you, rather than coming at it in this realm of demanding all of these things, if that makes sense. And the problem that a lot of my clients are facing with the man in their life is that the man is not able to tap into his heart center enough to be able to communicate back to her properly what he needs either. So there's just this constant like rift between the two of them. And the female will get very frustrated because she is giving all of these feelings and she's pouring everything in, and the male is shut down, not in tune with his own heart center or what he needs and wants. So it's just this perpetual cycle that never really ends. And that's why there are people like you, right, that help the men be able to really tap into that place.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it can be really challenging too. I mean, if your partner's not willing to listen to you. So
Totally.
if a man's partner basically, so let's say there's a woman who's constantly taking the lead and it's like it's my way or the highway. I just witnessed a friend of mine he's going through a divorce simply because it was always his partner's way or the highway. And he's an alpha type of guy. But he just couldn't really, he felt disempowered in his relationship, and he felt weak. But he's a powerful guy, this guy. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting seeing this, and it's also interesting seeing him now that he's out of the relationship, how much more confident and strong he is. So I mean, it can be challenging to get a guy back into his body with what it is that he wants if he loves his partner and wants to support her. And if it's just going to be constant arguing all the time, then someone's going to end up giving. So I think that it really does come down to both partners being willing to look at how they're contributing into the relationship. I can only help a guy so far because there's two people in the relationship and both people are equally as responsible. And then there's the third being, which is the relationship itself. And like, how are you feeding into the relationship?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. You and I, we see eye to eye for sure.
Totally.
Yeah. So I've heard some people say like, oh, I mean, if he's just not stepping up, then I'm just going to take the lead anyways. Like, he's not doing anything, so I'm just going to take the lead. Is that the same thing as a guy who's just really feminine, or is that her not giving him a chance to step up? Like, have you encountered that with some of your clients?
I have. And I think in the case with my clients anyway, they're not even giving the man a chance to step up because they're so used to just kind of controlling everything. And they already have in their mind that he is this certain way, that they're like closed off to the fact that he can actually change. And if he loves her, he wants to be better for her. That's not even like a thought in their mind. They automatically just think, oh, well, that's just not his personality. That's what most of them say. Oh, that's just not his personality. So I'll just step up and take the lead. Well, it might be able to be his personality if you give him that chance. And I think that's where most of the issues are, is that they already have this guy pegged of who they think he is, and that there's no way of changing him, is kind of this belief that they have. And it's not even about changing him. It's just allowing him to be what you need. Because if he truly loves you and is invested in this relationship, he wants that too. He wants to be what you need, and vice versa. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a lot of guys do end up self-sacrificing in a lot of ways because they just want to support their partners, and then they get resentful. But I mean, it happens the other way too. Yeah, I mean, how does a woman end up getting so far into her masculine that she gets into these types of relationships? Like, how does this happen in the first place? Does it start off like, I mean, if the relationship dynamic starts off that way, then is there really an issue? Or does it start off where a partner is, she's quite in her feminine, and then all of a sudden things just switch, and then she's all of a sudden overbearing and controlling and overbearing and controlling?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it goes both ways. What I typically see is there's always, that like trial period, quote unquote, the 90-day probationary period, as they call it, right? In a relationship where typically, when a woman is really interested in a man, she will kind of be whatever she thinks he wants her to be and needs her to be. So she'll really, in most cases, what I've seen, she'll really drop into her feminine in order to get the commitment from the man. And then when she feels comfortable, she's like, okay, well, this is how I am, and these are my standards, and la la la. And she like goes into this whole spiel of actually really showing her true self. And I think this is a lot of times when, men are like, oh my God, like she just became crazy. Right. And it's like
That is not that is not an uncommon story.
Totally, totally. I see this a lot, even in the lives of my own clients. And one of them right now actually is in the beginning of a new relationship, and we were just going through this with her. She's not being herself, and she's really dropping into this what she feels like he wants, and that's not who she is. And so if you start out the relationship as just being vulnerable of like, you know what, this is who I am, this is what I need, this is what I desire, these are my intentions, and if you can just be forthcoming from the get-go, the other person can make the decision, either A, whoa, totally not what I want, or B, wow, like that's exactly what I want. But I feel like men and women are both guilty of this. We kind of do this dance in the beginning of trying to fit this mold of how we think that person would want us to be in order to have a relationship. And then this is why so many relationships don't work out, because the authenticity isn't always there from the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, that used to be me, actually, when I was a lot younger. I was trying to be a certain way. I had a certain attitude. Then once I got into a relationship, I kind of changed. I got a bit softer because, oh, now I'm in a relationship.
Yeah, hey, don't we all,
cuddly,
right?
and then
It's like behavior.
yeah. So, as you were saying that there, maybe I'm going on different tangents here. I guess a thought that I was having is, and you'll have to give me a second while I try to piece this together.
Sure.
I mean, if a woman is a bit more masculine, she likes things her way, and then she's in a relationship and she doesn't seem to find a masculine or a strong enough man, then it seems like, and she's not happy with that, she wants a more masculine man, then in her mind, she's probably thinking, well, then that means I'm going to have to sacrifice what I want in order to get a real man. Mm-hmm. So what do you say to that? Because if she is very powerful, if she is very strong and very strong-minded, wants what she wants, doesn't necessarily want anything less.
She's not going to settle.
Yeah, not going to settle. But then she's also not happy with the men that she's been dating because they're not, quote unquote, man enough. What do you say to that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, classic. My classic client, really, who's not in a relationship but is looking to be in one or has recently gotten out of one. First of all, what I found is they don't actually really know what they need or want. They think they do. They have these ideals. They've made their list, right? And it's like, making a list is great for a baseline of qualities that you are looking for in someone, but it goes way beyond a list. Anybody can like check off, like match everything on your list, but then the energy in person like is not there, right? There's no actual connection. So the women that I've experienced working with they don't actually really know what they want. They know what they think they want or what they think they need, but they haven't actually gotten in touch with that. So that's part of the work that I do with them, is really going deep into what are their non-negotiables? What are the things absolutely they cannot live without in a relationship? And then what are the bonuses, right? And a lot of times we see the bonuses are what they're making their non-negotiables and why they're not happy, basically.
Yeah, that's making me think of a friend of mine. She's gorgeous. She's a lawyer. She's so incredibly smart. She's fit. She comes from a quite a well-to-do family,
Mhm.
and she hangs out with I guess some high profile people. I'm not gonna throw names around. And I was actually quite surprised to hear that she had been on 8 dates, um, not 7, not 9, 8 dates with a certain celebrity, and all I could, and she's perpetually single. And it does seem like, and now that I've known her for a while, and it's not like she's like, no, I'm taking some time for myself. I'm gonna build my own life. It wasn't really anything like that. It's like she is dating, but she's always perpetually single.
Mhm.
I've been single. I've also, during those phases, I'm like, well, I'm focusing on this, and I'm actually not dating at all.
Mhm.
And I can see some of the parallels in what it is that you're saying there. That I'm not so sure she truly knows what it is that she wants.
Yeah, I see that all the time. Or a lot of times, these typically very high achieving, high performing women, they, like I said earlier, they live in their head space, not their heart space. So they're thinking with their head and they're like, oh, well, for example, they might be like, oh, I need somebody who, let's use your friend's case. I need somebody who is also a lawyer and who comes from a well to do family and who blah, 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 right? Listing all of these qualities. Yeah, makes a lot of money, yada, yada. All of these things are in the head. None of this actually makes it to the heart. But when you drop into your heart and you're like, she could be like, I just really need a man who's going to be loyal and have integrity and who is romantic and who's going to take me on or just write me a sweet note, right? It's in the heartfelt things that are really going to capture her heart. And the reason why probably she's so dissatisfied and perpetually single is because she has this wish list of thinking from her head and not actually into her heart. So she's focusing, like I said, on the bonuses rather than the non-negotiables of what she needs truly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it does. So how do you get people into their heart? How do you get these clients out of their head and into their bodies?
hmm So for me, I do a lot of energy work with the clients, and so we do a lot of like meditative work to where we're getting into a heart centered space, and we do a lot of visualizations and going deep within, just feeling into your body and into your soul of what do you actually feel is right for you and is good for you. And we'll even go through scenarios like, I'll list something, I'll list a quality, and it's a body awareness mechanism, and we'll go through these mechanisms of how does that feel, how does that land with you, and their eyes will be closed, and they'll be in this sort of meditative type of state, really getting heart centered. And I'll be like, okay, this quality, or if he does this, and she kind of lets it sink into her body. How does she feel? How does that land with her? Does that feel like, yes, like that is what I want? Or is it like, no, I could totally live without that, And so really bringing an actual awareness, because your body knows before your mind will, right? And even before your heart will. So the best way really to feel into things is number one, body awareness. What is the actual sensation you have in your body when you are talking or thinking about a potential quality or scenario? And then from there, how does your heart react to it? And all of that in the long run, if you want to be truly satisfied, is what's going to have to override what's in your head.
That sounds like it could be a huge struggle between the heart and the mind. I'm told I want this,
It
and I
is.
want this because I think that if I get this, then that means this about me. Rather than this feels right and this is what I actually really want. It's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
if I have this, then I'll have this opportunity, I'll have this type of lifestyle, and I'll have this type of respect, and I'll have this type of these types of things or whatever. Yeah, there can be a huge disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
How do you bridge the gap? So now someone starts to feel into this. It's like, oh, that's actually what I want. But, well, I really do want a man who's really successful and financially free because I want to feel secure. I really want, and I want to be able to travel and do fun things. I really want a man who's fit because I take care of my own fitness, and
Mm-hmm.
I want these types of things which are in the head. How do you bridge that gap?
Yeah. So you find the commonalities between the things essentially. So if you want to feel the emotion of like you want to feel secure with someone, like financially stable, for example. Well, in your head, you might think, oh, well, that means he needs to make, he needs to be a lawyer or he needs to be a doctor or whatever the case may be. Well, he might be none of those things, but he might be totally financially secure, right? So a lot of times it's like the hidden gem in the bigger aspect of what you think you want. So this woman who feels like, she might have to have, a lawyer, a doctor, somebody who makes all of this, this money or whatever. Well, he may be financially solvent because of something he's done in his past that has now set him up for his future, right? So it's getting out of this so like specific of what you think you want or need and realizing there are other actual avenues to get the exact same thing. And so when you can bridge the emotion with the head and open yourself up to, it might not look how I want it to look. It might not look in real life terms how I thought it was going to look, but yet you're still getting what you wanted. And I think as women, particularly, we get so stuck on this one vision or these list of qualities. Like, is it on the list? Yes or no? And it can absolutely like be something on the list, but it might look in reality very different than what we maybe had thought it would look like. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. These are actually things that I do in my men's program. When you're two things. The thing that you had mentioned before about feeling into the body, I go through a specific process on the first day of my men's program, doing the exact same thing. And then what you were just mentioning here, and I actually just lost it as I was pulling it back to what it was that I did at the beginning of the men's program. Jeez, I feel so ridiculous. Just say what you were just saying again. I know it's going to pop right back as soon as you say it.
It may not, things may not look in real life like how you had thought they were going to look.
Yes, there's like we have these unconscious programs in our head where our unconscious mind is actually trying to keep us safe, even if it's running destructive patterns. And if you can understand what the goal is, like why you're unconsciously doing that, what is it that you're actually trying to get out of it? What's your unconscious mind actually trying to do? You can insert a different pattern to get the same goal that's actually very beneficial to you and very productive. So yeah, I can totally see that. Do you do this stuff in like one session with your clients, or does it take you a long time? I mean, personally, I like the changes that I've gone through and a lot of people that I've seen that are worth their salt. It doesn't take one. I mean, you can get like sort of an epiphany from one session and have a lot of life change, but when stuff sort of sticks is when it's repeated and when you sort of compound on it. I'm
Absolutely.
Yeah, is it the same for you?
It takes a while. It's a process because you really are literally rewiring your brainwaves. Like you are creating a new pattern. That doesn't happen overnight. You can have a breakthrough in one session, like you said, kind of an epiphany where you're like, oh my gosh, like I totally get it. Like it makes sense now, right? But it's still the implementation and embodiment practice of that takes time. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then, yeah. And and sometimes clients can sort of miss their wins. They're like, man, I feel like I'm in the same place. It's like, you've done this, you've had this happen, you've had this happen, you've had this happen, you've been doing this, you called me the other day, say this is something different. So that's it's like
it's huge. Focusing on wins. I do that at the beginning of every single client session. We're like, all right, what were your wins this week? It's the first thing we talk about because we are so prone, especially the women I deal with, are so hard on themselves and they set such high standards for themselves that they're really their own worst critic. They're not used to focusing on the good things. They're used to focusing on all the things that they're not, or the things that they haven't achieved yet, right? Because they're just in this perpetual overachiever type of mode. So yeah, that's the first thing we focus on.
Awesome. I love it. So yeah. I'm curious, I guess we kind of already tapped into it. I kind of want to go back to the women who start off, playing the feminine role, and then all of a sudden they flip a switch. Do they all of a sudden start getting upset in the relationship? I mean, okay, well now this is what I want. Now that I've got him, this is what I want. I'm curious, why wouldn't they just go for what they want from the very beginning? And then do they start to get resentful once they flip that switch when they're in the relationship? I guess there's two questions there.
Yeah. So the reason they don't most of the time don't do this in the beginning. Now there are some women out there who are very direct, know what they want, are not going to settle, and they're very forthcoming about that. They don't try to be somebody that they're not. But for a lot of women, it goes to the whole factor again of they don't actually really know what their non-negotiables are. They don't actually really know what they need or want. So they feel like if they are this way, they'll give it, really in their feminine and or whatever they think this man needs. They kind of think they'll just figure it out as they go. They're like, oh, I've heard this so many times. Oh, well, I'll get to know him. I can't tell yet if he's somebody I would, want to marry because I have to get to know him. And it's like, if you really have your non-negotiable set, you can know pretty quickly within the first few dates whether or not this is somebody that you could potentially see in your future. But when you don't know what you want and you don't know what you need, you have this endless saga of 3 months, 6 months, even a year, 2 year long relationships sometimes that are totally wrong for you because you're just doing this back and forth. Like you care about each other as people, but yet neither one of you are really getting your needs met. And it's this kind of constant cycle of not really being fulfilled. And you may have days where one of you, or period phases where one of you is really succumbing so the other one is fulfilled, but then the other one is really resentful, and then that switches, and it's just that happens a lot. So that, I guess that would just be the first part of your question.
Yeah, well, it sort of bleeds into the next part because it sort of seems like there's a confusion that's in there, and then sort of like more just wanting to get that commitment and sort of just feeling it out, which doesn't feel fulfilling when you're still just sort of feeling things out. And then once, okay, well, you've kind of sort of figured things out. It's like, okay, well, now this is actually what I really want, and I'm sort of going to change it. Like, I like these things about this guy. I don't like these things, so I'm just going to change it because I want this. Mm-hmm. And then it's going to sort of bleed into afterwards where they're still not fulfilled because they weren't fulfilled before, but now this lack of fulfillment starts to turn into resentment.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
At least that's the way that I'm seeing it. Mm-hmm. Do you see something different, or is something?
No, exactly.
Pretty much it, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, either I'm in your head or you're in my head. I don't really know.
Yeah. So, again, the importance of determining, first of all, what do you even need? What do you even want? And the distinction between your non-negotiables versus your bonuses, right? And if you know this already going into a relationship and you can be honest and real with yourself and you're not coming from this desperate place of need, not having to be in a relationship to have fulfillment, when you can already be fulfilled in and of yourself because of the other things you have going on in your life, then you can come into a relationship in authenticity and be vulnerable with, yeah, this is what I need. This is what I want. This person either has it or they don't. And yeah, sometimes that does take time. But if you are clear on what it is you really need and want, like I said, it's pretty obvious within the first few dates to be able to tell whether or not this is someone you want in the long term of your life or not. And you go from there.
Yeah, I'd say at least in the first 5 to 10 dates, you start to get a feel of like, okay, I can invest more time into this person. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes red flags don't show up until a little bit later. But I think usually there's a decent amount of red flags. When you know what you want, those red flags show up.
You know what you want.
Yeah. Because you can test for it too.
You can.
You can test for it. I'm asking testing questions.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that happens.
So funny.
I do that. I do that. I like how you really do focus on there's a lot of smut that's out there. I mean, like Cosmopolitan, like I fucking hate that magazine. Same thing with Maxim. For guys, it's all the same shit. Yeah. Same shit, different pile. And a lot of it has to do with, get them to do this, get your partner to do that, make them fall in love with you, blah, 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 blah. It's just all these manipulative, superficial, I fucking hate it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I really like how you're focusing on helping the women find what it is that they truly want inside themselves first, so that way they can find it and attract it naturally outside. Because, mm-hmm. I mean, otherwise it is just going to be these games of like, well, I'm just going to get him to do this, I'm going to get him to do that, I'm going to get him to do this, because I think these are the things that I want. And that's pretty much it. That's exactly what I do with my guys as well, is getting clear with what it is that you want and what you're willing to compromise on, what you're not. Otherwise, you're just going to turn into mush.
Yeah, it takes so much time and energy, like, to put into a relationship that's ultimately not going to work, and just to play games. Like, who has time for that, right? Especially the women that I work with, like, they don't have time to play these games. They don't want to play these games. And ultimately, games never work, right? If you're doing these back and forth constantly, like, do this to get this person, blah, 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 be this, both parties are not going to be fulfilled. So if you can stand in the truth of who you are and what you need and be authentic in that, you are going to naturally attract those type of people into your life, because they're going to vibe and respect who you are and what you stand for. And if they don't, clear sign, you don't need them in your life, and you move forward, right? So yeah, that's a lot of the work that I focus on with the women, is just standing in the truth of who they are, who they be, and how they're showing up in this world, and the type of man that they need as well. And if that's not the person in front of them, having the courage to kindly and lovingly walk away.
Yeah. I mean, that gets that gets really, really hard to do. When you're in a relationship with someone for a while, even if you're kind of resentful, but yeah, I kind of like them, but you kind of resentful towards them, you just build intimacy with someone, even if you don't necessarily like them, and then it can be really hard to leave. Totally. And I mean, it's not uncommon for people to fall in love with people who aren't good for them. Mm-hmm. Even though they know this person isn't good for me and I want to leave, but I'm in love with them, it gets extremely hard and much more murky to leave a relationship like that, when if you're just very solid in what it is that you want and what your non-negotiables are from the very beginning, it's much easier to break it off, 5 to 10 dates into getting to know someone.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. The getting into the body. Mm-hmm. I think that it would be very beneficial for women to reach out to you. Mm-hmm. I am curious, because I've definitely encountered several people who will listen to podcasts or read books, but they don't necessarily... I mean, you can only get so far on your own. If you think you can do it all on your own, then I think your head is up your ass.
Right. Yeah.
There isn't a single titan of industry or world athlete, like world champion athlete, that didn't have some kind of paid mentorship or paid consulting or paid coaching on some level. You can't do it all on your own. And if you think that you're going to be one of those few, like the minuscule 0.1% that does it all on their own, okay, are you going to jump out of a plane with a 0.1% chance that the parachute is going to open up? No, because you're not a fucking idiot. So why would you try to do this entire thing without any kind of coaching, just to keep you on track? So I mean, that's my little rant for today.
I hear ya.
Yeah. So my question was, it's coming. Where'd it go? Right, there it is. So my question was, if people don't want to reach out to you because they have it in their head that they can do it on their own, what are some exercises that they can do to maybe get into their body to start to feel and identify what it is that's truly important for them, or truly important to them?
Yeah. So first of all, I would say get into whatever helps you get into a flow state, a kind of a calm state where you can really just like decompress, be still, feel into yourself, whatever that could be for you. A lot of my clients, it's meditation, because it's the one thing that really like gets them out of their head and into their heart. This could be like painting, right? It could be sitting out in nature under the sun, whatever it is for you, figure out what that is. And get into a state where you can be completely alone. You can close your eyes and you can go into this visualization, meditative type of state where you can ask yourself, what do I want? And your intuition is going to give you an answer. And the first thing that comes to you is truth. Like your heart doesn't lie to you in that moment, right? In the moment of when you're asking what is true for you, what comes to you is true for you in that moment. So ask yourself, what do I need? What do I want? What is a non-negotiable for me? Or is this quality a non-negotiable, or is it a bonus? And if you want to get more specific and see what your body actually feels in a certain circumstance, you could make up kind of a mock scene for yourself ahead of time, like write down some questions you want to ask yourself in this meditative surrendering type of state. And you could say something like, I need to feel financially secure in my relationship. Sit with that. How does that feel in your body? Does that feel like completely at peace? Do you feel like, yeah, like I definitely need that? Or does it feel like, no, you know what? Like I'm so like totally financially solvent. Like that aspect of a man isn't that important to me. You know, and you'll be able to feel this. Typically, when this is something that is true for you, it's kind of like this soft tingle kind of in your heart space, where it's just this soft like whisper of like, yep, this is true for me. It's very subtle. Typically when it's ego coming in, it's loud and it's like, no, or like, yes, like, and it's typically like overwhelming, right? And your heart may start pounding. When it's true for you, it's typically more subtle. But everybody is different. You have to kind of figure out your own baseline. But getting into this state of being able to be in complete surrender and flow, where you're not trying to manipulate your own answers, and just asking yourself truly and really in a heart-centered space, whatever questions you have for yourself, and feeling what comes up for you in your body. And you're going to know. You're absolutely going to know. Do you get anxiety ridden when you think about a certain topic? Are you completely at peace when you ask yourself, you know, do I need a man who is romantic, who's going to make me feel so adored, right? Do you kind of get those tingles inside? Like, is it like, yes, like that soft whisper? Or is it like, oh God, ew, mushy gushy, I hate that, right? You are going to know. Your body is going to respond. And so you just have to listen, and then act accordingly. Determine what those non-negotiables are and stick to them. If you need help, get an accountability partner or a coach or a mentor who will make you stick to it.
Can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not for the people who want it but can't afford it, because I know that can be challenging. But
sure,
for the people who can afford it, just do it.
Totally.
Find someone.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything that I haven't brought up that you think needs to be said? Anything like maybe that I opened up maybe there's an open loop that you want to close?
I think just reiterating the importance of being true to who you really are and determining before you're in a relationship what it is you actually need and want in a relationship. And being honest with yourself, is this person somebody who can have that and be that? And conversely, if you are already in a relationship, a committed relationship, and it's not working, again, be honest with yourself. Reestablish what is it that you need or want, and drop into that heart space and have those feeling conversations with your partner and say, you know, I really want to address this with you. I feel this. It would be incredible to me. It would make me feel amazing if we could work on this because it will lead to this, or whatever the case is, fill in the blank for you. But being raw and real, if you are in a committed relationship, you obviously love that person, they love you, you guys want it to work, you guys both want to have a mutually fulfilling relationship. So more than likely, your partner is going to want to know what they can do to be better for you, and likewise.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Danielle. How can people reach you? If they're like, you know what, fine. You know what, I am gonna do this.
Yeah.
Fine. All right.
Yeah.
Danielle, you're gonna help me. How do people reach you?
They can find me on my website, which is www.danielle-laura.com. They can email me directly at danielle@daniellelaura.com. Or if they want to reach out to me via Facebook or Instagram, they can do that as well. Instagram is _Danielle_Laura_, and Facebook is @Danielle Laura Coaching.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet deal. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was great.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Take care.
You too.